Rob? And I'm going to bring in Rob G in to kind of explain this story. But Micah Parsons tweeted or responded to a tweet. Rob G, give us the summary. Because some people are saying, was he taking a shot at his quarterback, Dak Prescott? Here we go.
It certainly sounded like a shot at Dak Prescott. Well, it got started, though, with some comments by Bills general manager Brandon Beane, which we'll get to later in the show. But what he basically said was, Brandon Beane, that is that there's a reason why the 4 teams left in the postseason are there, and it's because they have quarterbacks on rookie deals, so allow them to build around those guys. He specifically mentioned the Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. While Micah Parsons shared the video with the following caption: besides Mahomes, every team in the Final Four QB is on a rookie deal and surrounded by talent! Exclamation point. Interesting take.
Now, look, is that just him, the football fan, and him saying, wow, I didn't realize that? Or, Rob, do you think he's taking a shot at his quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, I can't read into it. I don't know. You know what I mean? Interesting. Of course, they just lost, and Dak is making a boatload of money, so you want to put the dots together. But the whole argument doesn't even work for me when you have to say, except for Patrick Mahomes. So you know, like if all 4 quarterbacks, then maybe you could have a except for Patrick Mahomes, who's making $50 million.
75%. I mean, that's a pretty good range.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that that's the formula or that. I don't know. Tom Brady wasn't on no rookie contract when he was winning those Super Bowls. Money. Yeah, but not that much. He wasn't making a pauper's wage. He still was making a lot of money.
But he took a little less, as is Patrick Mahomes.
But not less than
they could have got.
But not.
No, they weren't. They were making good money.
Let's not make it. They're not making what those other 3 quarterbacks are. Is what I'm saying.
But they didn't set the market with their salary.
But Tom Brady's salary is not what Brock Purdy's salary is. That's what I'm trying to say.
Neither is Jalen Hurts or Joe Burrow.
Exactly.
Brock Purdy was his last player drafted.
So I mean, it's a nice thing to throw out there and use that as that's a look. This is what works or whatever. It doesn't always work out that way. And maybe it is a shot. I don't know. It wasn't. If it is, it's veiled. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. If he were to say, nah, I didn't mean it like that, I just thought it was an interesting thing, I would have to buy into it because it wasn't directly. If it said, look at these quarterbacks who are making too much money and this is the reason why their teams didn't win, and he checked that and Dak was on the list, then maybe I would buy into that more. Dak wasn't mentioned, so I don't look at it that way.
Yeah, I don't want to put words into his mouth or try to read his mind unless it's just so blatant that it's obvious. I think, though, Rob, the more interesting point is kind of what you brought up. Is this the formula to win? Now, it seems like the predominant thought around the league, Rob, whether inside the league or just pundits and outsiders or insiders who cover the league, is that the way to do it is to get a good young quarterback while he's on his rookie deal. He's not making a lot of money, build a great team around him, and try to win during that 4 or 5 year window. I agree with you in that is not like the obvious formula. Last year, who won the Super Bowl? Matthew Stafford. He was making a lot of money. He was making a ton of money. Right. But see, when the people make that argument, they don't go back to say, oh, not only is making a lot of money, Chris, they gave up a boatload of draft picks. You know what I mean? Like to get this guy. Right. Now their future, it doesn't look that bright. So, but still, he was making a ton of money when they won the Super Bowl. Tom Brady didn't take as much as he could have gotten. So that does leave more money when he was in Tampa Bay and won it. Patrick Mahomes was still on his rookie scale when he won the Super Bowl. So, you know, Brady beat Jared Goff. Jared Goff, I believe, Rob G, correct me if I'm wrong, was still on his rookie scale when he went to the Super Bowl. I know he had gotten the contract, but I don't think it had kicked in yet. Nick Foles obviously wasn't making a ton of money. Carson Wentz was the guy that led him to the first 13 games. He was still on his rookie scale. So I don't think it's cut and dried, Rob. But I do, when you look at a lot of the quarterbacks that have won the last several Super Bowls, they were either not making a lot of money. Foles, this year's group, we'll see if any of them win it other than Mahomes. Mahomes, when he won it, heck, Jimmy G was making pretty good money. They beat Jimmy G.
Let me give you some
But then a
numbers
lot
here.
of the other ones, even Brady and Mahomes now even, aren't making, like, they didn't take every last dollar that they could have gotten.
2 years ago when Brady won the Super Bowl with the Bucs, he took up 13.9% of the cap, Chris. That was the highest
He was making what,
amount
25?
of all time.
Was it 25
What,
million?
It was
Rob G, check
13.9.
that out. I think he was getting 25 million.
The
Well,
highest.
total number and cap percentage are two different things. That's the big thing.
Right. It's not just a number. It's the percentage of the cap. So he had 13.9. Last year, Stafford had 10.69. And for reference, Josh Allen, Chris, this year has 7.9 for the Bills. So I just don't.
Well, Josh Allen, yeah, his contract's going to kick in next year.
Right. So I don't even know what the
extension.
GM is talking about.
We'll get to him. The GM for them. He was making up an excuse. But Rob, here's my ultimate point. I do think, and I've said this before, I do think they should be the highest paid players in the league. But I think the gap between what they make and what the other position players make is way too much, way too big. This is the ultimate team sport. I don't care how good the quarterback is. He can't do it without a good offensive line in most cases. He can't do it if you don't have a great offensive line, a la Joe Burrow. He got great receivers. He's got some really good running backs. You got a good defense. Like, I just think, and I'm not hating. I mean, it's fine, but I just think the quarterback is not that much more important, twice as important, essentially, as all the other players. That's my point. I just think it's out of whack. And I do think these teams would have an easier time building better rosters if the quarterback wasn't making so much money. Now, again, I'm not saying they shouldn't be the highest paid, Rob, but I'm just saying I think the gap is too big.
I do not. I think the quarterbacks deserve all that they can get because the one thing, Chris, and I get all the other parts of the game, and we get that all the time. If you don't have an offensive line, if you don't have a running back, or, like if you can't run the football, or if you don't have a leaky defense, it's going to be hard to win ultimately. But one thing that is for sure, if you don't have a quarterback and half the league is looking to improve or upgrade at quarterback, that's why it's the most valuable position, because sometimes it feels like you could plug people in. A perfect example was the Bengals were missing 3 starting offensive linemen, and they went up there and dominated the game. Other guys came in, and they held it together. Chris, they might not be able to hold it together for a whole season, you know what I mean, missing 3 offensive linemen. But other guys stepped in, and they were still able to dominate. You take Joe Burrow out of that game, you're not winning that game in Buffalo. That's why
I would agree with that. But
that's why I believe the quarterbacks
in the money. I do think they're the most important. Okay. I agree with you on that. But I just think the gap. I mean, Joe Flacco, was he the best player on that team? Nick Foles.
He had a run of 11.
Did.
I know, and Chris, I get it, but it's also there's a lot of things that comes with being the quarterback. When they have the camera shot of the game, who's the camera on? Who's the face of the franchise? Most of the time, it's the quarterback. He gets most of that stuff, and there comes a responsibility. He's supposed to lead the team. There's all kinds of other things. I don't think it's out of whack. Maybe just the money, but them being
That's
the
what
highest
I'm talking
paid,
about. Yeah,
them being the highest paid, no question for me.
I agree that they should be the highest paid generally, but hey, if the quarterback is Jimmy Garoppolo, as much as we may like him, should he be the highest paid? When you got Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel and guys like that, I just think it is in general they can be the highest paid, but I do think the gap is too big.